I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time. Hello, and welcome to Women Awakening. I'm your host, Cynthia James. You know, I get so excited every week because I get to introduce you to an extraordinary woman, a woman who's taken charge in her life, who stepped up, stepped out, brought their voices, been change makers. And what I love about these women is that they're way showers. They show us that there is such an extraordinary field of possibility that we can all step into, because this is the time of women emerging on this planet, and our voices and our hearts and our wisdom are needed. And so I'm grateful. Like I said, I do this every week. So we're on Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, Spreaker, Amazon, YouTube. Subscribe, come back every week and meet an extraordinary lady. Well, my guest today has been in my life for many years, and I'm just so excited to introduce you to her because I've watched her grow and expand and move into this extraordinary leadership position. Her name is Reverend Wendy Silvers. She helps moms embody their power, raise healthy, empowered kids, and lead with love. She's a mom, minister, spiritual teacher, and sacred activist. Nicknamed Mama Wendy by her clients, she's known for her keen, intuitive wisdom and honesty, fierce dedication to moms, children, families, thriving, and their freedom. She is the founder of the Million Mamas movement, creator of the Awakened Mother series, host of the Awakened Mother podcast, and co-author of the international best-selling book, Balance for Busy Moms. Her next book comes out spring 2023. She received the American Riviera Women's Entrepreneur of the Year Award in 2014. And this is what I want to tell you. She's been on stages with lots of luminaries. She's had decades of experience as a spiritual counselor, trauma-informed parenting coach, child development, 35 years of experience in the 12-step recovery movement, and had a former career as an entertainment publicist. We will discuss this. She is married to an amazing man and the proud mother of an extraordinary daughter. Hello, Wendy. Thank you for being here.
Oh, Cynthia, thank you. It's such an honor and a joy. It's just as you were speaking, I was thinking, so you have been in my life for 22 and plus years, because Joy May just celebrated her 22nd birthday on the past Monday, and you were my counselor before and during my pregnancy, and you were at my baby blessing.
Yes, we brought her onto the planet.
We did. We did. We paved the way with prayer and and high vibrations too.
So before we get into details, can you tell us, how did you grow up? Where did you grow up?
I think I grew myself up. So I grew up in New York, Long Island, and then we moved to New Jersey for a short period of time. And then I went back to the city to go to school, and I stayed there till I moved to where I currently live, which is Los Angeles.
And siblings?
Yes, I have an older deceased brother, and that's it.
And did you feel seen as a kid?
No, absolutely not. I believe, I'm grateful for the portal through which I came through. I'm grateful to my mother for that. And there's gifts in every situation, clearly. But I did not feel seen. I didn't feel seen. I didn't feel heard. I didn't feel met. And I remember, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, I was on the phone with my brother, and my brother said to me, well, we always knew you were different. We just accepted you. I was like, oh, gee. Well, thanks for that.
Yeah, but you know what I love about that is, you know, a lot of healers, teachers, inspiring people were considered that different, or the black sheep of the family or whatever people wanted to call it, because we came on wanting to challenge the status quo.
Absolutely. Oh my
So
gosh. Yes.
I'll come back to this, but
Okay.
I need to know, you became a publicist. Did you go to school for that?
Well, I went to school. So I went to Fashion Institute of Technology and I got accepted in advertising, marketing, and buying, which I had no interest in. I mean, it's a very funny story behind that because so I applied, we were living in New Jersey and I applied to Temple University. And my mom, I remember my mom coming in and saying, so you got this back from Temple. They're asking for more information. And then we're having a conversation. And my mother said, I just want to let you know that if you do go to Temple, you're going to have to live at home because it's not a neighborhood that you could live in. And I was like, oh no. Oh no, this is not happening. So as things happen when you set your intention, even though I didn't even know that that was the word that I was doing in that time, I was like, I'm not going there. I got accepted to Fashion Institute of Technology for advertising, buying, and marketing, and I switched into advertising communications. And then I got an internship. And then I got another job. I was the personal assistant to the woman who did advertising, marketing, and PR for Gucci. And while I was working for her, there was this big opening on Fifth Avenue. And this woman from Los Angeles named Gloria came in and saw me working. And she asked me if I would move to Los Angeles and work for her for Rogers and Cowan, which was, at that time, one of the top 3 PR companies. And so I just was too scared. And I ended up working in the New York office. It was just one of those, convergent opportunities.
Okay, but did you get some fabulous Gucci bags? That's what I want to know.
I got some fabulous Gucci things and I got to have some really interesting prosperity consciousness because Miss Hamra, who was my boss, she's the one who told me that my hair was like scrambled eggs, by the way, because I really didn't fit into, I was kind of this wild child and I'm working at Gucci, which is all about, Anyway, so I got to work on she asked me to work on the fashion show. So I got to be with this fabulous clothing. And I would look at the tags and there would be this gorgeous shirt for $595 and these leather pants or suede pants for like $1,000. So that, there I was, I think I was 20. And so then I'd go shopping and I'd see a shirt for 100 and I would think, oh, that's just such a great price.
Okay, so, all right. So the first thing is that you turned down this offer. Then how did you get to Los Angeles?
Well, so fast forward being in the entertainment industry. And then I got out of the entertainment industry and was doing, had one leg in. And I met my now husband, who is a Los Angeles native. And so when we were planning like our wedding, one of my longtime friends had moved to Los Angeles and gotten married. And her ex-husband, owned a lot of real estate in Los Angeles. So when we were planning our wedding, a couple of his real estate holdings are restaurants. So when we were planning the wedding, she said, come here and have the wedding at Michael's, you'll have the reception at Michael's restaurant. And then I was just kind of done with New York. I was just like, okay, I've been here. It's like a bad relationship. Like I need to like move. And my husband, bless his heart, who is, was in Off-Broadway theater at that point, was like, oh, okay, we'll go back. And that's how I ended up in LA. We got here, because I wanted to have a family. And I didn't want to, be carrying car seats, on the subway and strollers and, all that. I was like, I just can't imagine doing that. So that's how we got here.
Well, I love that. So, all right. So I want to talk about the segue.
Yes.
Because I remember when we met, your deep desire to be a mother.
Mm-hmm.
And coming from the mother that you had,
Mm-hmm.
what were your intentions, first and foremost, about being a mother yourself?
So from the time I can remember, literally from the time I can remember, I always I had this affinity and this love for children. And I imagine it's because a lot of the trauma that I mean, I think it is a soul call, but I also probably, in healing my own childhood trauma, I just have this desire to be a mom. It just felt like my life would not be complete if I were not a mom. It was just this very deep knowing, this part of myself. And so I had already been doing inner work, and I just made a commitment that I was not going to inflict upon a child that I would be blessed enough to mother the same dysfunctional, distorted perceptions, judgments, all that stuff that I had to undo. So my intention was to have to be a child, be a loving, conscious woman holding this conscious container for this child that would choose both my husband and me as their parents, and support them in being who they were coming here to be, and
Yeah.
to do my own inner work so that I wasn't unconsciously passing on the generational wounding, the patterning. So it was a very clear intention.
Yeah, well, I love that. I mean, I feel like I had the same with my children. But I got to tell you, I had to work consistently to not be drawn back into those familial patterns, because I would hear my mother's voice coming out of my mouth and go, no.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so fascinating. I mean, I remember when I was pregnant. And so my desire was to birth my baby at home. And I remember almost every conversation that I had with my mom until I just drew my line in the sand. My mother would say to me, which was something she said throughout my entire childhood, are you sure you know what you're doing? Do you know what you're doing? We have doctors, in the family, like this is, nobody has ever done this. And I finally had to say to my mom, and it's really interesting because I think before you become a mom, like before you're entrusted with these children, when you have this desire on your heart, you start mothering. There's certain things that come into your sphere where you're mothering. And so one of the first boundaries I had to draw with my mother was this: if you keep saying this to me, as much as I want you to be part of this process, you will not be. Because
Great boundaries.
I want this energy in my space.
Mhm. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. So where does Million Mamas movement come in?
Oh God, oh my God, that's what a journey. So after I graduated from Agape doing spiritual psychology, and I realized that I wasn't equipped to build a business, to really to have to source that. And so I started working with business coaches, and it's actually, I should say, it was a big space. Then I started working with business coaches. I tried to do it on my own, which is not what I recommend. And so I worked with this couple, and I had gone to their weekend retreats and all these was doing deep work. And of course, Michael Beckwith's life visioning process is something that I use as part of my spiritual practice: prayer, meditation, life visioning, etc., service. And so I sat one morning and I was really in a place of, I would say, a deep inquiry / a little despairing. I had been, it was almost a decade that I had been working with families to greater and lesser degrees of financial success. And I knew that this was my heart, but I kept thinking I must not be doing it the right way. So I would go inside and ask, to be shown, how may I be of greater service? What do I need to transform within myself so that I may go forward and be of greater service? And so I got up from my visioning. I can't say that I had clear, indication in that moment. And I went to the gym and I was on the elliptical going, which I believe, accesses the left and right, hemispheres of the brain. And as I was looking up, I heard Million Mamas March. So when you're a longtime meditator, intuition gets really heightened. And if you're also psychic, and a lot of us are, so and medium, I thought, okay, my father-in-law, who had recently passed, is talking to me because he took John to the Million Man March. And so I just was like, okay, I'll just keep doing this. I'm going back and forth. And then I heard it again. And then I heard Washington, D.C., Mother's Day. And so I was just like, okay. First I said yes. And then I was like, oh my God, like I have no clue what I am doing. I don't know the first thing. So I started making, doing all the planning. And within a very short time, what I heard is it was a movement. It wasn't just a moment, as they say. So the Million Mamas movement was birthed from a vision that I didn't think I had the right or the worth to steward, to help anchor and reimagine the role of the mother in our world, to help mothers feel empowered to go forth and raise children in a conscious, mindful, intentional way, and create a world where women and children and families are cherished, because that isn't the way our society is structured.
Well, I love that. I love that you listened. And, it's so every time I talk to an entrepreneur, they go, yeah, and this thing came in, and I'll go, did you know how to do that? No, clueless, so, I think that that inner guidance and listening is important. But I do want to talk about, the awakened mother from the point of view, we're living at a time where it's kind of interesting being a parent.
Mm-hmm.
Schools aren't necessarily safe. Stuff's happening out in the world with kids, being hurt. And so how do you keep your center, stay in this healthy, loving place, at the same time, nurturing your kids to be conscious and aware?
Mm-hmm. It's such a great question. I mean, that's the work. That is the work. So the awakened mother emerged from my work as a sacred activist, where I became very aware that there were policies and bills, and there were actions being taken by elected officials and special agents, special interest agencies that were really seeking to disempower the mother and parents and harm children and impact children. And so what I know is that everything is consciousness. So while I hosted and led and did lots of events, I also was very aware that if I didn't attend to my own consciousness, I would be sucked up into the maelstrom of propaganda and agendas and sides. And I really there's no side in God. So my intention was to, what is the truth? The truth is, I believe that when a child comes into your sphere, that you are the steward of their bodies, their minds, and their spirit. You don't own them. And that to the degree that you do your own inner work is to the degree that you will help your child be who they are here to be, free and unencumbered from your stuff. They'll have their own stuff, but your stuff. So the awakened mother is really dedicated to a woman who's waking up, who has a desire, who hears something on her heart that, wait, I don't want to go that way. This is how it feels right to me. Or maybe I want to go this way. I want to activate my intuition. I want to be steeped in spiritual principles and practices. And I want to raise my child from a place of connection, empathy, compassion, and really help them be fortified to be original thinkers, to navigate this world from a place of strength and courage, live with their whole heart. So that means I must do that too.
Yes, yes. Well, yeah, and therein lies the rub, isn't it? It's like that means your inner work, your commitment to spirit, your staying open, honest,
Yeah,
and integrity, because kids do what they see, not what they hear.
absolutely.
So tell us about your book, Balance for Busy Moms.
I
I
know.
don't know a mom that's not busy, but okay.
Yeah, well, it's so funny because I think it's kind of a silly, it's like, is it really possible to have balance? I remember I met Sarah McLachlan and I gave her one of the books and we were joking and she's like, that is just such BS. I won't use that word on the show, but she was like, there is no balance. And I think that it's aspirational
Yes.
to seek balance. I love the words equanimity and equipoise. So those are kind of mine. But I was invited. This woman sought me out and she was watching my work and watching what I was doing. She said to me, would you please be a contributor to this book? I love what you're doing, and so I did. And my contribution was about womb wisdom and rocking your mama self, because that is really, the work is really embracing that womb wisdom that's within us. And the world that we live in, even though there's a lot of progress, to really honor yourself at the deepest place is to honor your womb wisdom. I mean, we hold the world in our hands, our hearts, and our wombs. We make huge contributions to the world through the children that we raise and the projects that we create and execute.
100%. Well, when I was looking at your bio and, spiritual counselor and trauma-informed parenting coach, tell me what that is.
So being trauma-informed is recognizing that somebody sitting before me has had certain experiences that have impacted their brain chemistry and their nervous system. So in the past, like the old paradigm was just, chin up, chest out, butt under, just keep, power through. You're going to that's okay. Like if a child would fall, let's say, and they skinned their knees and it hurt. A parent would say, oh, you're okay. Just get yourself up, brush yourself off and keep going. Well, for some people that have had moderate to more intense traumatic experiences, the brain develops differently. There's a chemical response. And so being trauma informed means that I'm sensitive to this and I have certain strategies and tools to support somebody in releasing that nervous system setup. It's like this unconscious setup. Like, how many times somebody has said to me something like, well, just stop doing it, or you're overthinking, just stop. And I'd be like, okay. So, that feels really shaming. And it's person isn't meaning that, they're just not trauma informed, because that reaction, it's because something got stuck in the cell. Because most people that I worked with and that I know don't want to do things that hurt them or keep them stuck. They want to be free. So
100%.
being trauma informed allows a parent to understand their own trauma and how it influences the way that they interact with their children. Like make them tough so that they can deal with the world. Well, your home is supposed to be the sanctuary. It's your ashram. It's the place where your child can come to so they can be fortified to then go out into the world feeling whole, which is their true nature, but feeling that they are equipped to navigate the vicissitudes of this life that we're living.
Yeah. Well, this is such a big conversation, I mean, being a parent is not for the faint of heart because you must stay awake and yes, you love your children and they have their spiritual journey, you have yours, and how do you nurture them in a place where they can be conscious? I just love what you're doing. So I know that you got something coming up. So I want to know what that is, and I want to know how people can find you.
Thank you so much. It's just so great to be with you. So the Awakened Mother Academy is curated from the work that I've been doing over these past many years. That's really in service to helping women, awakened mothers, women that are also reparenting themselves, come home to themselves. And it's a 6-month program, a 6-month immersion into really looking within themselves, looking at the ways that they were parented, the way that they parent, and then really setting the course for their vision to manifest their vision into this dimension. So it is a deep and enlivening dive into reclaiming yourself and into really knowing what it is that you want to impart, the legacy that you would like to leave for your children.
It's beautiful. And how do people find you, and how do they find the course?
Okay. So the website is wendysilvers.com, and that's SILVERS. And I'm on Instagram at Wendy Silvers. You can find me on Facebook. You can send emails to hello@wendysilvers.com.
That's beautiful. Well, I love what you're doing, and I love your dedication to moms and children and families. And it has shown in the way in which you and your beloved have raised your daughter to be this extraordinarily artistic and creative being. So
Thank you.
wonderful to witness that.
Thank you.
I ask the same last question of every guest.
Okay.
The show is called Women Awakening.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the one thing, the most important thing women need to know about the importance of their awakening?
That there's nothing wrong with them, that you are here on purpose with a mighty purpose that has been written upon your soul, and that taking care of yourself allows you to go forward and share the gifts that were implanted within you at the time of creation.
Well, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Wendy. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being you on the planet and answering the call.
Thank you so much, Cynthia, to you as well. Thank you for being such a beacon and such a powerful presence in my life. I am very grateful.
So, ladies, I'm going to say the same thing I say to you every week in a different form. What if you knew how fantastic you are? What if you knew that you were magical and mystical?
Mm-hmm.
What if you knew that your presence on the planet at this moment was so essential that the universe breathed its life into you to bring your gifts and your talents, your wisdom and your light?
Yes.
I want to say to you, ladies, please listen to Wendy, listen to the women that are on this podcast to remind you that everything is possible. And so I say, step out. It's time for you to awaken, bring your light and your gifts. I'm so honored that I get to be with you every week. Sending love, and I'll see you in a week.